Emory, how should the Browns attack the quarterback position this offseason?
Shedeur Sanders is the QB1 for the Cleveland Browns. And this is why I hated the whole discourse throughout the season, because they put up new graphics and new splatter charts and all kind of colorful charts that show, oh, look what Shedeur Sanders rate. But they always leave out the fact that this dude got 7 weeks of starters reps, and he went 3-4 in those starts. And within those seven losses, 5 of those, they were in the ball game. So it's not like they were getting blown out. The Bears game was the only game where they were really outclassed. Even were in that San Francisco game before the score looked like it looked in the end. So if people, here's the thing. Everyone just hates on Shedeur Sanders because it's the cool thing to do. It's like hating on the Browns being the Browns, right? So looking at this team as a team that can be a very good.
Everybody wants to talk about the Browns like they're broken. Like this franchise is lost. Like Cleveland needs to blow it all up, start over, hit reset, and pray the football gods finally show mercy. But what if I told you the Browns' biggest answer is already in the building? Because that's exactly what Emory Hunt just said. No dancing around it. No politicking. No fancy graphics. No colorful charts meant to confuse fans. Shedeur Sanders is QB1. And once you really listen to what Emory Hunt laid out, not just about Shedeur, but about context, reps, roster construction, and opportunity, the entire national narrative starts to fall apart. This isn't about hype. This isn't about a last name. This is about football reality. Because while people are busy arguing about draft picks, free agents, and next big moves, the Browns already have a quarterback who went 3-4 in 7 starts, with a worse roster than the guys who opened the season, and still had Cleveland competitive in almost every game. So let me ask you this right now, why does nobody want to admit that? And more importantly, why does the league keep pretending Shedeur Sanders didn't happen? Because once you dig into this conversation, the answer becomes uncomfortable for a lot of people. Let's talk about it. Now listen closely to what Emory Hunt actually said, because this wasn't just a hot take. This was a breakdown from someone who watches the tape, understands roster cycles, and isn't afraid to say what others won't. He called the Browns' job underrated. He said coaches are missing an opportunity, and he flat out said the negativity around Cleveland isn't based on football, it's based on perception. And right at the center of that perception problem? Shedeur Sanders. See, when people talk about the Browns, they talk like this is a 3-year rebuild. Like this team is miles away. Like they're stuck in neutral. But Emory shut that down immediately. One off-season. That's what he said. One off-season away from being .500. One off-season away from being in the playoff picture. And when you hear that, your first reaction might be skepticism, because that's what years of Browns football have trained fans to feel. But then Emory walks through the details. The defense? Already top tier. The draft class? Hit undrafted rookies? Contributing backfield depth? And then he drops the real truth bomb. The reason people are being disingenuous about the Browns is because they're being disingenuous about Shedeur Sanders. That's not an accident. Because once you acknowledge Shedeur Sanders, the excuses disappear.
Well, here's the thing. Everyone just hates on Shedeur Sanders because it's the cool thing to do. It's like hating on the Browns being the Browns, right? So looking at this team as a team that can be a very good team. So the fact that they had a guy, they got 7 weeks of starters reps with a roster that was injured on the offensive side of football, and they went 3-4 in those starts, won 2 of the last 3 games, 2 tough games, the teams that was trying to fight for the postseason, one being a rival. 2 being a rival, your Bengals and Steelers. I just don't see how you can not see the upside that, man, if we give this dude a full offseason and build around him with some receivers, stockpiled offensive line, some guys are going to come back healthy, this guy can get us to where we need to be and have us competitive. And it's funny how when you empower somebody, you get the best of that person. And when they empowered Shedeur, spoke life into him, you saw how he responded. And I think that's something that people that will never see because they don't want to see it, but the answer is right there in-house on a 5th round rookie contract. So take full advantage before you have to break the bank. And your veteran is already on the roster too, and Deshaun Watson.
This is the moment where the conversation should end, but instead, it gets ignored. Because Emory didn't just say Shedeur should compete, he didn't say, maybe. He didn't hedge. He said QB1. And he explained exactly why. 7 weeks, 0.3 wins, 0.5 competitive losses. That's not failure. That's foundation. 7 weeks of first-team reps, 0.7 starts, 0.3 wins, 0.4 losses, and 5 of those games were competitive into the fourth quarter. Let that sit for a second. This wasn't a full off-season install. This wasn't a roster built around him. This wasn't continuity. And so, Cleveland wasn't getting blown out. Only one game, where they were truly outclassed. So why does the discourse act like Shedeur failed? Why do the graphics leave out context? Why do people show passer rating splatter charts but ignore wins, competitiveness, and momentum? Ask yourself that. And while you're thinking about it, let me ask you something else. If Shedeur Sanders starts week 1, with a full offseason, with a healthier offense, with improved protection, are the Browns really a 6-win team? Or are we talking about something very different? Because Emory Hunt said something that should have stopped the entire conversation in its tracks. If Shedeur had the full offseason and started from week 1, Cleveland might already be a 9-win team. That's not a bold prediction, that's math. And yet, nobody wants to say it. Now here's where the conversation gets even more revealing. Emory didn't just defend Shedeur. He explained why the Browns situation is actually attractive to coaches, and why the negativity surrounding Cleveland is artificial. This roster is young, the defense is real, the draft capital is there. And most importantly, the quarterback is on a rookie contract. That's the part that should terrify the rest of the AFC. Because while teams are breaking the bank on veterans, Cleveland has flexibility, options, room to build. And that's where Shedeur Sanders becomes the centerpiece. You don't need to rush into another massive QB contract. You don't need to mortgage the future. You don't need to panic. The answer is already in-house. And Emory made it crystal clear. This hate toward Shedeur isn't football-based. It's cultural. It's narrative-driven. It's cool to doubt him, but it's cool to clown the Browns. And that combination makes people blind. But let me ask you, when has football ever rewarded people who ignore production? Because Shedeur produced. He won 2 of the last 3 games, against teams fighting for the postseason, against division rivals. And when the Browns empowered him, he responded. That matters. Quarterbacks are confidence players, rhythm players, belief players. And Emory Hunt said it best. When you speak life into a quarterback, you get the best version of him. So why wouldn't Cleveland lean into that? Why wouldn't you build around that? Why wouldn't you take advantage of the biggest cheat code in football, a capable quarterback on a rookie deal? That's not reckless. That's smart team building. And then Emory went even further, pointing out how injured the offense was when Shedeur played. Missing pieces, inconsistent protection, no real continuity. And so Cleveland was in games. So now imagine this. A full offseason, a bolstered offensive line, receivers who can actually catch the ball consistently. What does Shedeur look like then? And here's where Emory gets even more strategic. He doesn't say, go get a flashy receiver at 6 no matter what. He doesn't say, sell out for a name. He says, build the line. Protect the quarterback. Because when you protect a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, who processes quickly, stays composed, and doesn't fold under pressure, you unlock the offense. That's how teams win. And this is where the Browns front office actually deserves credit. Andrew Berry has been cooking. Draft hits, undrafted value, depth building. And Emory even floated the idea of trading down, stockpiling picks, and doubling up on offensive linemen early. That's not attractive, but it's deadly effective. So let me ask you this. How many teams in the NFL regret investing in protection? And how many regret rushing to replace a young quarterback who was still developing? Because history tells us patience wins. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. Shedeur Sanders isn't failing expectations. He's threatening narratives. He challenges the idea that Cleveland has to start over. He challenges the idea that high draft position equals readiness. He challenges the idea that confidence is arrogance. And when players challenge narratives, they get nitpicked. Every miss magnified, every win minimized. But Emory Hunt wasn't buying it. He said the Browns are in a good spot. He said Shedeur can get them where they need to be. He said the upside is obvious, if you're willing to see it. So now I'll turn it back to you. Do you trust the tape or the Twitter graphics? Do you trust 7 weeks of competitive football or hot takes? Do you believe Cleveland should reset or build? Because the answer isn't complicated. It's just inconvenient. And the most dangerous thing in football is a team that realizes it already has what it needs. So if the Browns do the smart thing, if they protect Shedeur, empower him, and build properly, this conversation is going to look very different in a year. And a lot of people are going to pretend they saw it coming. But you'll know the truth. Before we wrap this up, I want to hear from you. Is Shedeur Sanders already QB1 in Cleveland? Should the Browns fully commit and build around him? Or do you think the league still hasn't seen enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Now there's another layer to this conversation that almost nobody is touching, and it matters just as much as wins and losses. One of the most important things Emory Hunt said, almost quietly, was about empowerment. He didn't just talk about stats. He didn't just talk about reps. He talked about how Shedeur responded when the Browns believed in him. And that part should scare defenses. Because confidence isn't just a personality trait for quarterbacks, it's fuel. When Shedeur was given first-team reps, when the staff spoke life into him, when he was allowed to command the huddle instead of just manage, his play stabilized. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't overwhelmed. He didn't crumble when games tightened up. He competed. And in the NFL, that's the line between potential and progress. Now ask yourself this: how many young quarterbacks actually get that chance? Most rookies get thrown into chaos. Bad protection. No patience. Fans screaming for the next guy by week 4. And yet, even in that environment, Shedeur kept Cleveland in games. So why is the reaction still skepticism instead of curiosity? Why is the conversation still, what else can they do? Instead of, what happens if they commit? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Once you admit Shedeur Sanders might already be the answer, a lot of people look wrong. Draft analysts look wrong. Media narratives look wrong. Preseason assumptions fall apart. And nobody likes to revisit their takes. That's why Emory Hunt's comments hit so hard, because he wasn't protecting ego. He was protecting logic. He pointed out something else that deserves more attention: timing. The Browns don't need to rush. They have a veteran on the roster. They have financial flexibility. They have draft capital. And most importantly, they have time to let Shedeur grow without forcing the issue. That's rare. Most teams either don't have a quarterback at all, or they have one making too much money to sit. Cleveland is in between, and that's actually the sweet spot. So let me ask you this question right here, because it matters. Would you rather gamble everything on a shiny new option, or invest in someone who already showed you he can compete in your system? Because history says teams regret impatience far more than patience. And here's another thing Emory touched on that flew under the radar: leadership. Not just from coaches, but from quarterbacks. Shedeur didn't fold when the season slipped. He didn't disappear when criticism hit. He didn't deflect responsibility. He showed up. That matters in a locker room. Veterans notice that. Linemen notice that. Receivers notice that. Quarterbacks don't have to be loud, they have to be steady. And when Emory talked about how the Browns played down the stretch, beating rivals, staying competitive, fighting, that's not accidental. That's culture showing through the quarterback position. Now here's a hook you need to think about. If Shedeur Sanders had played for a different franchise, would we even be having this debate? If that same 3 to 4 stretch happened in a clean organization, would people be calling it growth instead of failure? Be honest with yourself. Because the Browns' tax is real, and Shedeur is paying it. But taxes don't last forever, results do. And if Cleveland does what Emory Hunt suggests, builds the offensive line, adds consistency at receiver, and lets the quarterback grow, this conversation flips fast. Suddenly it's, why didn't people see this? Suddenly it's, the Browns were closer than we thought. Suddenly it's Shedeur Sanders took the leap. And that's why this offseason is so critical. Not because of headlines, not because of splashy signings, but because of direction. Are the Browns building with Shedeur or just around him? Because those are two very different philosophies. One creates stability, the other creates tension. And Emory Hunt made his stance clear. The answer is already there. Now I want to pull you back in again, because this is where fan perspective matters. If you're a Browns fan watching this, what more do you actually need to see? Do you need perfection, or do you need progress? Because perfection doesn't exist in year one. Growth does. And Shedeur showed growth in real time. That's why the rookie contract matters so much. You're not locked in, you're not trapped, you're not gambling the future. You're evaluating with leverage. And smart franchises don't waste that window. So here's another question for you, and be honest in the comments. If the Browns spend the offseason fixing protection and adding reliable receivers, should Shedeur Sanders be the unquestioned starter in Week 1? Or do you still want competition for the sake of comfort? Because competition is healthy, but clarity is better. And the teams that win consistently know the difference. This is why Emory Hunt's comments matter. They weren't emotional, they weren't fan-driven, they were football-driven. And football says this: Shedeur Sanders gave Cleveland a reason to believe, not a reason to reset. So if the Browns listen, if they block out the noise, if they stop chasing optics and start trusting evidence, this team might surprise a lot of people. And the loudest critics today will be the quietest voices tomorrow. One last thing before we close. Remember this moment. Because whether you're for Shedeur or still undecided, this offseason will define Cleveland's direction. And when the season starts, excuses disappear. So drop your thoughts below. Is Shedeur Sanders being evaluated fairly? Is Cleveland closer than the media admits? Or do you think the Browns still need to look elsewhere? Let's talk about it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ride with Gridiron Insights, because we're following the truth, not the trend.